Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is that special time once again for the JMOR Tech Talk Show, and we'll be starting momentarily. This is the place to ask those questions about PCs, technology, problems with your iPhone, pairing it to your car, and much more, including those smart devices at home and in the office that are supposed to make life easier. We welcome your questions live during our show tonight, and please help me welcome the CEO and founder of the JMOR Connection Incorporated and the star of tonight's show, Mr. John C. Morley. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the JMOR Tech Talk Show, live here, right here on the Starcom Radio Network. Thursday nights, we stream live at 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And you can call us during our show by just picking up your phone or cell phone and dialing area code 973-826-0981. That's 973-826-0981. And of course, if you've missed any of our shows, you can always go to jmor.com, and usually within about a week or so of the show, we have them uploaded there, and you can also go to YouTube, and we have them there as well. So tonight, lots of stuff's going on. I know with internet and with security. I mean, there's so much stuff happening today that, we're really not sure what to turn. We're not sure what's happening. We're not sure who to trust anymore. I mean, the big issue I think is happening is being security, network security, but we've got a little more problem than just network security. I mean, whether we're talking about a Ford, an Acura, a Lexus, a Rolls-Royce, doesn't matter what we're talking about. We're talking about a car that has Bluetooth technology. And that Bluetooth technology is just as susceptible as any other Wi-Fi network. So now you're going to put your credit card number, yes, in your car. Yeah, don't do this. And then you're going to make a purchase through your car. I mean, are you really serious about that? So, I mean, we've got Wi-Fi that's probably less secure than any airport, and we all know what airport security is for Wi-Fi. It's like non-existent. They tell you don't use that, and they also tell you don't use any of the coffee shops. I'm not going to mention any of the names, but you know some of them. One of them starts with an S, and there's another one out there. And the problem is that a lot of people out there are not tech savvy. I get it. But the thing is this, if you make the mistake just one time, you are opening the door for a hacker to come in. And let me tell you what they can do to you. Not only can they cause you some frustration, some aggravation. I know several years ago I've gotten hacked with my cell phone, back when cell phones used to cost quite a bit of money, and you actually had what they call analog technology. And somebody would be waiting outside the Lincoln Tunnel or other places, whether I'd be coming to Weehawken or New Jersey, and this was all before 9/11, and I had gotten cloned 2 times. And I didn't figure this out right away, but then when I got my bill, I'm like, how is my bill $2,000? It's usually only a couple $100. Now, back then, a couple $100 for a few weeks was cheap. Cell phone service was very, very expensive, and they just ripped you off every way to Sunday. But what happened was my cell phone would get cloned, and someone else within a couple days of me going past the Weehawken or the Lincoln Tunnel or the bridge, whatever, somebody be sitting there with a device waiting for me. And then they'd basically capture me and a lot of other people. They'd make up these chips and sell them for pennies on the dollar. And now they'd have it until I got smart enough, other people got smart enough to shut it down, which usually took at least a couple weeks. And then the cell phone provider said, wait a minute, this is starting to get crazy, so they monitored it. And it was a real problem. I mean, we had cell phone bills that were over thousands of dollars. Now, obviously, the carriers were very good, and they understood that I didn't create those calls, but because how could I be in New Jersey and then suddenly be in Long Island 2 seconds later? I mean, let's be serious about it, right? But my point to you is, as technology changes, and especially with the new bill, and who knows what our president's going to do, I really don't know. But, I can tell you this. I know security, and the big challenge we're going to have is that as we get more conveniences, we're going to become more a prisoner to actually our world. And the reason for that is because we're going to be so enticed by the fact of having convenience that we're not going to do the right things. We're going to be concerned about money, what we spend. I want to get the cheapest one. and you're the one that's going to get hacked. And if you think hacking isn't a big deal, okay, then let me tell you something else. For those of you that missed our show a few years ago, it's going to cost you about $1 to $2 million to actually get your identity back. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it for a while, because, I don't care whether you have OnStar, whether you have a roadside service or whatever you have, but if you have some type of Wi-Fi in your car, which is becoming more and more popular now because they're saying, oh, it's going to be so great, but this Wi-Fi is actually not secure. And they're saying, oh, you can purchase things such as your subscriptions, but that server that it's connecting to can be hacked so easily. And I'm not going to tell you how to hack it, but what I want to tell you is that other devices, just like I mentioned, the cloning technology, are going to do just what we saw 10, 12 years ago. It's going to happen all over again with the cars. And it's going to be a serious problem. We're going to be talking about people that could be interfering with things like LoJack and positions of cars. They even will be able to change and alter your guidance systems. So when you think you're going somewhere, you're actually not going to go where you think you're going. Now, I know this seems very, very far-fetched, and there's many market leaders out there that are talking about it, but this is what's happening when we talk about the Internet of Things. And I think it was in 2013, car-connected revenues were supposed to reach $21.7 billion, according to some big analysts. So with the 2014 revenues climbing further, and now into 2016 they're climbing even more, they're getting very scared because the directors are really worried because their technology could cost them major, major lawsuits. And that's the issue when it comes to, possible hackers. So the Internet of Things is definitely going to make things easier for us, yes, but what it's going to do is it's going to open up a big Pandora's box. And if you don't know how to keep out the bad people or those malicious, superfluous people, you're going to have some issues because you're like, oh, I want to get that. And I'm not one that always likes to get it right when it comes out. You know why? It's got a lot of security disasters to it. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, when we talk about the health market, mobile medical devices are not insusceptible to this, of course. So the market has wearable devices for sports, fitness, a variety of things. And hackers are becoming more and more enticed to want to attack mobile medical devices, running Windows, pacemaker. Why do they want to do this? I don't have the psychological reasons, but I got to tell you that if there's a weak point in our world and there are hackers out there, they're going to do whatever they can to exploit our world. I mean, that's just really sick. But it is the truth of the matter, and we have to be on our guard. So smart devices just have to get smarter. But they're starting to lack security. I mean, that's the issue. We're so enticed by, oh, wow, it can do this, it can do that, it can turn on the stove for me, and oh, it can turn on my sprinklers, and oh, it can turn my water faucet on. Yeah, wonderful. You don't realize it, but when you start connecting your whole world into something that's a Wi-Fi network, and there's not really much more than a security system that's probably under $10 or $15, there's not a lot of thought that went into those systems. And I'm not here to call them out on the carpet one by one, but they're all guilty, okay? And I think we need to be very concerned about where these different providers are going, especially things like retail inventory monitoring, control monitoring, it's going to be a problem. They're going to use more 3G technology and soon 4G technology to track. And all these people out there that want to hack, I mean, you think they were having a ball game with a fun time with the crypto project. Well, that was nothing. I mean, all they did was inconvenience one computer. Think of how an attack could happen that could inconvenience you so badly that it could prevent you from being able to get clean drinking water in the morning. I mean, I know it sounds far-fetched, but trust me, I'm not trying to tell you how to do it, but what I'm saying to you is there's technology in place, and this technology, it barely went through an engineering comb. I mean, it just works. I mean, I don't know how many of you out there have ever looked at some of these great products that you get in either Home Depot, Lowe's, and not to knock any of those stores, or even Target or Best Buy or any of these places, and they look so wonderful, right? And you're like, I wonder what the inside's like. I mean, I know I've done that. I've done that since I was probably 6 or 7, started taking things apart. Well, when things stop working, that's a perfect opportunity to take them apart and see why they're not working, right? When you open them up and you see inside that there isn't much of anything in there. I mean, they're not very pretty, okay, just the way they throw things in there. And I'm not talking about some of the chip component products are a little bit better, but you have to just see how they throw stuff in there, and they put a very beautiful cover on it, and it's like, that's what I paid $49 for, $100 for, and it's a joke. It's absolutely a joke. So more and more is it going to become important to understand security. I've already talked to you about drones, where they're going, what's happening, the thing about what's going on with the world, and how, we have to have licenses and things like that, and how they have to be regulated, right? I talked to you all about those things many times. And I think right now, the chief security organization officers are basically concerned about remote access for devices due to potential malicious attacks on employees, health information leaks, attacks to key executives. Let's think of it like this. Suppose you have one of these medical devices, and your company's making it or deploying it, and now you're asking it for all this patient's personal information. Now, remember, it's got to meet HIPAA compliance, and if it's doing banking, Sarbanes-Oxley compliant. And let's just say there was one little minor glitch, that if the computer device, mini computer in there, that when it powered up, if it didn't come up, like if it just when it came up, if you held the button down, I'm just giving an example, for 2 seconds by accident, it would go into this mode by accident that causes it to be able to be susceptible. Now, I'm just making this up, but I'm trying to get you to understand that once a virus or something is deployed, it can be deployed wirelessly. It does not have to be deployed through something that's a local LAN connection or a wired connection, okay? So I want to give you a little bit of an idea and understanding about this, not to scare you, but again, the whole idea of our program is to educate you and get you to understand that technology is where everything's at. But we have to choose to make the right choices in life, right? Whether we're talking about technology, we're talking about people. Once we make a decision or once we say something, it's very hard or almost impossible to get that back. So when it comes to technology, there are too many companies out there that are so, how can I say this in a positive way? They're so overzealous to want to get to the market to make a profit, okay? Nothing wrong with wanting to make a profit. My beef on this is that they're so anxious to get to the market that they haven't done the due diligence on what needs to be done before it can be rolled out in a mass deployment. They haven't thought about all the security risks. I mean, we're just starting to bring this to the table now. And, there aren't even laws in place that regulate certain things. And I'm not saying there have to be, but, there's got to be a standard, right? So I think what we're going to see is more and more devices are going to start to have a standard they fall within. And as a device causes a security risk or a security threat or a breach, then we're going to start to see rules formed around that particular device. I mean, that's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, like it or not. We talked about a car being parked a few weeks ago. Well, the car being parked, I think Lexus and a few other companies has these cars that auto-park themselves. Yeah, wonderful. So now you go and you auto-park your car, you hit the button. But inadvertently, the car hits another car. Now, you're in the car, you're not touching anything, you press the auto-park button, and the car crashes. Well, the auto manufacturers would say the car glitched. Yeah, the car glitched to somewhere between $1,500 and a $20,000 bang-up job, right? I mean, you can't replace a fender today for less than $4,000 or $5,000 with painting. So I think we need to be, again, cognizant and really mindful of where technology is going. That's what it's about, ladies and gentlemen. And we need to make sure that there are regulations in place to make sure that the technology being deployed is not only going to be safe for our lives, but also is it going to protect our common information that is to our records, our medical records, our personal data. Is it going to keep that private? Are they going to allow sale of data? I mean, I'm not a big fan of wanting to sell data points. I know people can make a lot of money doing that, but I have this problem with wanting to sell data points because I think if you sell data points, I'm not talking about everything. I'm talking about medical data points, or I'm talking about data points that have to do with someone's personal life. Now, if the data point is something very trivial about, maybe some exercises, not a big deal. But when you start to get discounts on things like toothpaste and everything, and now they want to keep track of where you brush, when you brush. They want all this data from you. Why do they want this? So they can market you. So why are they doing this? Because they know that in X days, they're going to be able to count on X number of tubes from X number of people. That's why they're doing it, ladies and gentlemen. But again, the Internet of Things is not just going to happen in places that you may have heard of, like the car. It's going to happen in lots of different devices. I talked about the Amazon Smart Tag. They press a button and it automatically communicates with the wireless network. So the other thing that's important is when we think about things like, our world, we think about things like our resources. If malware were to get into these public resources, okay, and there was no firewall, there was no protection, by the time we figure it out, it could be too late. And it could cost us not thousands, but millions or billions of dollars to fix or recover something. So I know this all sounds like pie in the sky. Believe me, I know it does. It's not. If we take the time now to make sure that hackers are not able to copy audio and video properly, then we can understand what's happening. Because things like even something as simple as 3D virtual glasses, not a big deal. But something that might be used for a medical experiment could become hacked. And again, the hackers might not necessarily just be people out of school or people in school, college or high school, but these could be very trained graduates that are getting paid lots of money to be able to infiltrate a system or a target market by being able to change the output. Sometimes people will want to do this. You know why they want to do that? They're vicious. Maybe they want to ruin their competition. Again, I don't really agree with these tactics, but we have all kinds of people that make our world go around, and some actually make it go backwards. But, security is not going away, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we learned this back when we were talking about 9/11 and where everything was going, right? Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you stay right where you are. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'll be right back after that break. Computers slow at your home or office. Pop-ups appearing, pairing iPhones to cars, setting up smart devices like thermostats. Technology was meant to make life easier. We know technology, and we have a passion for helping people with theirs. Connect to the JMOR Connection now, JMOR.com, or call us toll-free at 877-767-5667. Mention code JRC001. Receive 50% off your first hour of service. New clients only, please. JMOR.com now. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the JMOR Tech Talk Show right here on the Starcom Radio Network. That's 973-826-0981. We have just a little bit inside of a half hour left of our show, and if you'd like to call us, you can call us at 973-826-0981, and we'll be happy to talk with you on the air. So we're talking about security, we're talking about technology, and I know some of you are saying, I really don't care about technology. Let somebody else worry about that. That's not of my generation. Well, I hear you. I do hear you. But understand something. If your safety and if your information about your life gets into the wrong party's hands, it's everyone's responsibility to be aware, So the nonsense about, I don't want to deal with this. fine, you don't have to know computers, but you need to be cognizant of people that are using them and make sure they're using them properly. I mean, that's what it's all about. Everyone out there sees a gadget. They go to buy a gadget. They put this information in. I had someone, just a couple months ago. They said to me, John, this person calls, and one of these shows, we're actually going to do, I'm actually going to do a recording. We can't do a live show, but we're actually going to do a recording with one of these fun people overseas. And we're going to have some fun with them. We're going to connect to them with a virtual machine, and we're going to ask them some questions, and we're just going to see what kind of a goose chase they're going to send us on. I can guarantee you they're going to send us on a wild goose chase. But one little quick story I want to tell you is, I'm not going to tell you the store, but I always tell you, JMOR, we engineer technology to grow your business, and what do? We have a passion for technology and for helping people with theirs. But what do? We fix technology problems right the first time. Not the second time, not the 17th time, not the 100th time. We fix them right the first time. Yes, we may be a little more money, but we know technology and we know how to take care of things. Whether you're a small company of 10 to 20 computers or you're 500 computers or more with multiple LANs, local area networks, or VLANs interplaced. Or you have other WANs in other offices, such as connecting like your home office. You have a mobile user Salesforce. You have other branch offices. And then they all tie back to your headquarters. It's not enough, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to just say, hey, a company makes this and we're going to install it. Yeah, that's great. But two quick stories. One story is you have to know what you're talking about. There's a company not too far from us. I'm not going to name them because that's not really fair or ethical. They're not in the technology business, but they're actually in the flooring business. Yeah, I know, the flooring business. So this floor was being put down, brand new floor, and once they put the floor down, it was all finished. It had marks in the floor. So they called them back. The person called them back. They came back. They did the floor again, second time. Did everything all over again, put all the effort into it, all done. Next day, there's still marks in the floor. There's like scratches. And third time, they come back again. Now they come back a fourth time, and it's still wrong. You can't really do the floor more than 4 times, so you have to put a whole new floor down. But what they concluded after the fourth time, and it was too late, is there was a problem with the sanding machine. Now, I'm sorry, but if you just do things by trial and error, well, gee, why don't we just try 5 or 6 things and let's hope it works. Now, there is a philosophy and a technicality to basically isolate things, yes, but that was not what this was. This was, let's just throw more stuff on the floor and hope it works next time. They didn't really make any differences, okay? And so that's an example. So I was talking about this one particular, I'm going to call them a superstore, okay? And again, I'm not going to give you the name, but you go into the store and they, as soon as you walk in the store, I don't want to say they charge you like the first down on a football game, but they actually welcome you to the store and ask you if there's anything they can help you find. Okay, sounds very polite and very friendly. This one particular store that I went to had a computer problem. I pretended that I knew nothing about computers. I walked into the store, and I brought a computer in that was totally dead. So it was a PC. And it wasn't that old. It was less than a year old. And I purposely broke it, and I wanted to see what they could do. Now, I'll tell you what the problem was in a minute. But he said it'll be X dollars to analyze it. Okay, sure, that makes sense, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to get back to you. So I dropped the computer off, I'm going to say, on maybe Monday. He says, we'll call you in a few days. So it's now Wednesday or Thursday. No one's called me, emailed me, nothing. So I called them. They said they don't have an answer. So that was on Wednesday. On Thursday, still no answer. I decided I'm going to go down and see these people. I go down to the store and I say, where are we? Oh, we found out the problem. Your computer needs a part. Okay, great. It needs a part. How much is the part? Oh, it's going to be $1,700. Well, the whole system's only $1,989. $1,700, well, that's the motherboard. And now, I should tell you that I know what's wrong with the computer. It's not the motherboard. So I said to the gentleman, I said, did you check everything? Check all the connections, check the battery, check it. Oh, yeah, we're very sure. We check everything. We check everything top to bottom, and we find nothing wrong. Okay. So I said, oh, well, that's surprising. And as I'm, getting ready to get my wallet out, and I'm, he thinks I'm going to pay for it, which I'm not. And I said, oh, I guess, he says, yeah, that's the best we can do. He says, maybe we can give you 10. I would say, can you do it better on the prices? Yeah, maybe we can give you 10% off. So I said to him, have you fixed the computer? He says, oh, no. He says, we have to get your payment first. You already charged me the analysis fee. And now you're going to charge me another fee. And then you're going to deduct that fee from the main labor fee. Fine. So he tells us it's going to be several hours to change a motherboard, which is not really accurate. And then I said to him, you checked the batteries. I mean, you checked everything. I'm sure you did. He said, oh, yes, we checked everything very thoroughly. I said, I want you to try something for me. He said, yeah, sure. I reach into my pocket, and I pull out a coin cell battery for the motherboard. And I say to him, would you do me a favor? Would you put this in the battery? Just humor me. He puts it in and turns it on. And we're waiting because we still kept getting the error message. And he says to me, he says, oh, it's not working. I said, no, give it a minute. Just give it a second. Comes up, beep, beep, beep. Right through, we're into Windows. He goes, He says, it's something. And he says that can't be. So I said to them very politely, I said, I think the other gentleman here, I said, is lying to me. And he's not really telling me the truth. And I'm not paying you a dime. Because you never even checked the battery, and you're trying to sell me a whole new motherboard, okay? And again, I'm not going to mention the store because that's not fair, and they're not all bad, but what I want you to understand is that they were trying to sell me a $1,700 part for a $1,900-some computer, $1,900 plus tax, and telling me it was the motherboard, which comes with a new battery, which is like $1 to $3.69, right? So the manager comes back over and he says to me, he says that'll be $1,689. I said $1,689. I said you didn't do anything. Oh yeah, we fixed it for you. I said you didn't fix anything. I said I fixed it. He said no. So I was very nice with the gentleman. I said those cameras, you're recording everything, aren't you? He says yeah. I said go look at the camera. And you'll see that I gave this gentleman a battery. And I said, you can even ask the gentleman. I said, I don't know if he's going to tell you the truth or not. And I said, did I give you a battery? He says, yes. And did you put the battery in it? Did it work? He says, yes. Oh, he says, so you used our labor. I said, I wanted to test you to see if you actually knew it was wrong. You guys are a bunch of crooks. And I said, if first of all, you're going to refund my $189.99, which was really a whole game. And he says, well, we can't do that. I said, well, if you don't refund my $189.99, I'm going to report you to the Better Business Bureau. So they didn't want a lot of nonsense, and I was starting to cause a scene. And he says, okay, we'll give you back your $189.99. He says, gets me. They want to get me the heck out of the store. But my point to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that they had no clue what was even wrong with my computer. So I created a diversion purposely to see if they would actually offer me a battery, which I was willing to pay them the diagnostic fee and the $3.69. Okay, so I was fine with paying their overpriced fees and their $3.69 if they would have just fixed the computer. But they didn't fix it. I knew 99% of the time, and a lot of stores do this. They tell you this is bad, that's bad. The only thing that's bad is their sales. So what do they want to do? They want to lie to you. Because the truth of the matter is you're never going to see that person again. Ever again. If you go to a store and they actually put labels on the boxes, well, if you return something, they actually get in trouble because you returned something because they recommended something that wasn't proper. And there's a lot of stores that take that initiative. However, this store did not do that. This store just wanted to play games. And that's why I always say to you, and we've said this for over 20-some years, we don't play games like the superstores do. We fix your technology problems right the first time. We even tell people, reach out today and give us a try. We understand that, picking a technology company is not something that you're just going to do until you've had at least, at least a full bowl of cereal or had a full lunch. I don't expect you to do it on an empty stomach. But the challenge is, if you can put aside two things when you pick a technology company. One, put aside the fact of money for just a second and understand that if you pay just a little bit more money and you were to factor that out, all these little cheap visits you think you're getting from these other companies, and they don't fix anything. They actually get you involved, and you get so addicted to coming back to them, but they don't fix a darn thing. And you like, he said, we have to come back, I love the ones that come out and say, okay, we're going to charge you, it'll just be $30 a disc or a program. I said, what? Well, we charge one fee to come out, it sounds really cheap, and then we get $30 a program. How long does it take to install Microsoft Office? 10 minutes? So they're getting $30 every 10 minutes. So I have 4 programs to install. $120? And that maybe took 20 minutes? I don't think that's really fair. So I'm just trying to make you aware that, not everyone out there is bad, but there are a lot of superstores out there, and they want you to buy something new. They want you to spend money. That's what it's all about for them. And a lot of times, they're going to give you wrong information. In fact, did you know that most of those superstores don't even manage the people that are there, don't even work for that store in a lot of cases. They work for another entity, or they are, let's say, from a temporary service, or they're from another company that provides employees to them for some type of reason. I don't know about you, but I think that's enough of a reason for me to not want to call these people. Now, I gave you the example with computers and technology. I gave the example with the flooring. Now, this guy had 12 or 20 trucks. They have the biggest name, right? And the problem with that is they couldn't put the floor down right once in 3 days. The floor was down and they could not finish it right. They're in the flooring business for how many years? And they could not figure out that their sander was causing a problem until the very, very end. And again, you can only sand a floor down 3 times, 4 times max, and then you have to replace the floor. That's pretty much how it works. I think as we move into the next year and, technology starts to evolve more, we're going to see more and more apps, we're going to see more and more devices that are going to be able to be controlled from your iPhone and your Android device. I mean, let's take a look at parking. Several years ago, you would put a quarter in a meter, and that quarter would last you, maybe that quarter would last you, used to be 10 cents, and it would last you maybe a half hour. 25 cents now. Some places, 25 cents will give you 15 minutes or half hour. 25 cents, some places will give you an hour. I remember when 25 cents would give you 2 hours, but that's not how it works now. So, and the meters, I love this. They would have like a 2-hour maximum. So if you wanted to park there and you're past the 2 hours, what you had to do is you had to literally get out, go into your car, move your car so your tire mark moves. Because if a cop came by and he saw that your tire was still at the same alignment, they would give you a ticket. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. So this is what's went on. They said this is nuts. And then they looked at an opportunity where people could make money. And how could they make money? They put in a pay-per-parking system, a pay parking attendant. So now you could get the spot number, go to the parking meter, the system, pay cash or use your credit card, and then You could even put your cell phone number in there, and it would text you to remind you when you're running low, so you could even pay if you used a credit card. Pretty ingenious, right? Pretty neat. Some of these places actually charge you a small fee for using this system. You don't really have a choice. It's built into the system. But the thing that I think is really interesting about this is that now it was never about how long you park somewhere. It was all about the money and how much money you actually were able to spend. So now that they're able to just keep cha-ching, 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 they could change it. And they could do other things, like if you park after 11 o'clock, well, the rates now, instead of it being $1.50 an hour, well, the rate after 11 o'clock is $2.50 an hour. So, again, I get it. You have the app. Lots of great uses. I mean, lots of things are having apps now. I mean, whether you're talking about parking, whether you're talking about insurance claims, there's lots of new type of apps out there. The only thing I would caution you on is, what information are you sharing with the app? If you've gone on a website and you put information in, and that information is all secure and you're trusting of the company, and you're using the app to basically link to that database, not a big deal. But if you're having to put all your information in, remember I said this once before, the information that you put into a non-secure device, because we don't know if the site's secure yet on the app, we're not sure yet, you need to make sure that that's information that you would readily share with a stranger, or that you would shout out, okay? Maybe some people don't want to shout out their whole name, but it's not really going to cause a problem. Would you go shouting out your social security number? I would tend to discourage that, to be very honest with you. And again, if you do want to join us, there's a little bit of time left. If you want to call us during the show, you can reach us at 973-826-0981, 973-826-0981. We have a great show coming up. I think it'll be either the end of this month or early next. We're going to be doing a golf show, a golf technology show with a golf professional down in Florida who will be joining me as my co-host. And we'll be talking about how a lot of golf courses today have to be frugal and use technology to make sure they maximize their investment and their resources, which is their money, their greens, their grass, their equipment, and their people, right? But if you don't have it done correctly, your golf course could go out of business. And there's lots of things we'll touch on. We'll touch on how they water. We'll touch on the golf carts. There's so much stuff. We may even have to do it in 2 shows, but that is going to be an awesome, awesome show. You know, another thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that when we think about technology, there are refrigerators now that will actually place orders for you when things are getting low. Suppose somebody removes something accidentally, so now your refrigerator is going to suddenly place an order. I don't know. The reason that they're putting apps together for other appliances are so you can monitor them. Your washing machine, your dryer, etc. Or maybe the washing machine might alert you because something needs attention. Well, you can make a change to the wash cycle, basically from not even being home or being at the office or something. And I think someday, I don't think it's going to be tomorrow, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we have cameras in our washing machine. Now, why? We want to see how the washing cycle is going. It has to be a waterproof camera, right? We may even see cameras actually in our dishwashers. And this is going to help for a couple reasons. It's going to help because they're going to be able to learn and see why dishes are not getting clean right. Maybe something's being blocked. So there's a lot of neat things that are going to happen there. But apps are definitely not going away. And, you can choose when you have an app to know whether that app should actually be tracking information on you, like do you want it to track your location and stuff like that? Do you want that? Or maybe you don't. A lot of people actually waste their battery life. You know why? Because when they install the app and they give it all these permissions, it checks their background location like every freaking 30 seconds. And they wonder why their battery's dying so quickly. You only have to check it when the app is running. Some of them give you pop-ups. And these pop-ups basically are what they call little message pop-ups. Not pop-ups like on a computer with, websites. Totally different. So this is where technology is going. It is a constant evolvement of providing a resource of information to make our lives more efficient and to make businesses more profitable with less downtime. I mean, that is where it's going. So the Internet of Things, you're going to hear the IOT, you're going to hear that a lot more as we move along. And you're going to start seeing things. I mean, you can have an IoT. An IoT can be something as simple as a camera that is wireless enabled, okay? Basically, an IoT is a small device that has a mini computer in it and usually is running some type of embedded operating system. And that operating system is able to communicate wirelessly and ascertain and pull and send data. The thing about IoT is, because they're so small and they have a very, like I said, a small footprint, we're going to be able to see more and more of these devices. But this is why we had to go to IPv6. It's kind of like the conundrum of the phone numbers, right? We don't have that many lines left. That's what it's about. So I think that if you watch technology, you're going to see things popping up in the monitoring arena, such as like in stores, and they're going to want to give you discounts. I mean, there's one major retailer that sells food, and right now they're the only ones that let you take a scanner, and they call it the honor system. So you sign up for it and you agree to their terms, and one of the things you do is you scan the items before you put them in the cart. Now, when you get to the checkout, all you do is scan the device, you pay, and you're done. But here's the catch. They have the right at any given moment to do random checks and see if you scanned everything in your cart. If at any time they want to do a scan, which they can randomly do, and they find out that you've missed items in your cart, you'll be banned from the program. That's basically how it works. So you say, gee, I missed this or I missed that, and am I going to get in trouble for that? Well, maybe you did it inadvertently, and that's fine. But they are very strict in saying that if you are not going to be 100% accurate and they catch you just one time, you're banned from that entire program. So, again, the price of convenience is what we're really talking about. Are we giving up security to have convenience? Remember we talked about tyranny for freedom? Similar analogy. And I see where we're going to be going is Mac machines are going to be using fingerprints, okay, and being able to detect live fingerprints with a pin. I think that's where we're going. Everything in technology has a benefit. But if technology is not engineered and deployed in the right way, I don't want to lie to you and tell you it can be a detriment. I mean, there are companies now, pharmaceutical companies, there are travel companies, and I'm talking large Fortune 25, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies that basically are deploying technology at such a high rate, okay, that they need departments that are doing nothing more than risk analysis. Now, risk analysis is in two ways. One, the financial loss and threats and all that. But then the other side is the technology risk, breaches, etc. So you always have the side of what if the information gets out. That's one side of the house in the risk. The other side is how do we mitigate it? How do we make sure it doesn't get out? Okay? And how do we be proactive about it? You see, there's antivirus software that you can be proactive with, and there's antivirus software you can be passive with. So if you get antivirus software that's free and it doesn't really do much, it's probably going to be passive, and you're going to have to do all the work, just like with some spyware software, right? So that's where things are going, and I know people are lazy. So you're saying, gee, I don't want to get involved with all that nonsense. Well, if you don't want to get involved with all that nonsense and you don't want to learn about it, then I'm going to be honest with you. Don't get involved with technology that you're not going to understand. Because if you don't understand the technology, that technology is going to get you into more hot water. I'm not saying you need to learn about every line of code, how it was written. I'm saying you need to understand the risks and understand what you can trust and not trust. Just like I talked to you about certain websites, right? That's what it really is about. And if you can't feel comfortable from your provider, a company like us, or whoever it is, or maybe it's your medical provider or your PBM, your pharmacy benefits manager, maybe they're giving you your device. You need to make sure that you are comfortable with them and how they're explaining things to you. Whether we're talking about DMERC or any type of equipment, we need to make sure that you are comfortable with how that technology operates and you know where the lines are. You know what not to cross, or you know where it could get sketchy and you shouldn't even go there because that's a problem, right? That's really what I'm trying to convey to you. And the same thing goes with the car. I mean, do you really need to make a purchase on Amazon or on one of these sites while you're driving to the Grand Canyon? I don't think you need to do that, all right? And again, Amazon, certain sites, they have your card and all that stored on files, so you're probably fine there. But keep in mind, if the server can get hacked from the car and intercept the data transfer, okay, and be able to appear like it is your car, you're at risk for susceptibility and for a severe threat. Because now all your information, including your username and your password, can now just be ciphered just like that. In a couple seconds, someone else can log in, you get off, and now they're suddenly creating this problem. Again, it's not happening every day, but it happens as we deploy new technology and as people become very zealous for things, especially in the Internet of Things, because everybody says, oh, it's so small, what could it possibly do? Remember something, anything that's connected to the Internet is connected to our world. And if it's connected to our world and you don't have a great big risk analysis department like many of these pharmacy companies do, or finance companies do, then you need to be understanding of what you're doing. And if you're not, then paying a company like us is going to make all the world of difference. Because of just spending an hour or two with us to give you the peace of mind and to train you on what you should do and shouldn't do, that couple $100 could save you from losing a couple $1 million, which is your identity. Now, I talked about how painful it was to go through my cell phone being cloned. It was a real pain in the neck. I had to go through getting a new phone. It was analog, and they didn't come out with digital phones till a few years later. And then they couldn't really clone those because it was different and the signals kept changing. Will they eventually be able to clone a digital phone? Sure they will. Why else do we change phones so often? It's not just because of new technology. It's because the susceptibility of risks and hacking is still there. Why do we change certain types of access control systems? Because there's a potential risk of threat there. That's what it's about, ladies and gentlemen. And as we go deeper into whether it's medical, whether it's personal stuff, whether it's something from music, you might say, gee, it doesn't really matter. Maybe you're a composer and you're writing music. Well, it's not a big deal. Well, yeah, it is. Your song isn't copyrighted yet or it isn't traded yet. And now suddenly it gets to the wrong channels and suddenly that song is all out over the internet and you don't have it licensed yet. And that whole thing that you worked several months on, someone just stole and you can't do one thing about it because you don't really have the protection. And what are you going to do? Go to try to fight somebody? You have no protection. Yes, you could try to sue somebody for it, but the amount of time and the effort it's going to take you, they're going to be light years ahead of you because they're going to get it off a public source. I mean, that's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. So when you use technology, be respectful. Think of it like water and fire, right? Water can be great and it can be bad. electricity, fire, same thing. We have to use these resources. I think I talked to you once before, and I said to you that, whether we have a device like a defense mechanism, I'm going to say, and if we use it improperly, it could be a weapon. If we use it properly and it's for defense, then it's a tool that can be used for defense, okay? But if used improperly, then it's a deadly weapon, right? So I think that's really where we're going, to understand that everything in our world has a place. But sometimes many manufacturers just get so, let's say, overborne by the distance and over the passion of the sales that they don't take the necessary steps to protect their device so that it doesn't become susceptible to hacks and threats. And that may sound really crazy, and they might say, gee, let somebody else deal with that. Well, fine, but you're all responsible, if there was a situation where 4 companies were working on a DMOR device, a PBM, a pharmacy benefits managing company, the drug company actually that's making the drug and giving the PBM company rights to make it, and then on top of that you've got the resources, then you've got the medical doctors, and they got all these people. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to say, okay, we're going to sue everybody. That's what they're going to do. And it's going to create a lot of work for the lawyers, so they're going to have a whole new bracket of laws going to be created. In fact, they're still kind of cringing about, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? What are our courtrooms going to be like? What are we going to have to do to encompass this kind of law? I mean, it's already being brainstormed, and it's a challenge. But the whole thing is, whether we're talking about the car, whether we're talking about pharmacy, whether we're talking about the drugs, it all comes down to this: accountability, accountability, accountability. Everyone needs to collaborate, okay? And in addition to collaborating together, being mutually respectful and responsible for what they create, okay? And being in alignment with everyone, that's what it's about. If any one of those people get off track and decide to take path B instead of path A, when this other path is the right path, even though it's a longer path, there might be a year or two more in development before it can go to beta or before it can go to release. That's what has to happen. But many of these companies are startups, and they're so concerned about making money today that they really don't care about your security, my security, or other people in the world until something unfortunately happens to them, like them possibly losing their identity. And again, I don't wish this on anybody, but I do feel that a lot of the teams out there, they develop something like, oh, let somebody else worry about that. It's our idea, let somebody else worry about it, or we'll sell it to a big company, let them worry about it. That is the wrong attitude. And it's people like that today that are developing things that are making our world harder for those that want to make it a great world. It's not that these people aren't smart. It's that they are doing something that is not great for society and for our world. That's what it's coming down to. So the Internet of Things is not going away, all right? And that's basically, what's happening. And we need to take one more quick break, and then we'll be right back to finish up. So don't go away.
For IT services and data destruction, the JMOR connection should be your direction. Engineer technology to grow your business. Our custom solutions are at your service. JMOR should be your direction. The JMOR connection.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and the JMOR Connection is your direction for IT services and all of your data destruction needs. Over 24 years in the technology industry. So we're talking about IoT and the Internet of Things, and what I want you to understand is that there are a lot of companies out there that are going to go in business, they're going to go out of business, and they're going to make a killing on IoT. They're going to probably make a few $1 million on IoT, all right? And I'm not against that, but my problem is, do they deserve to make that money if they're going to create a problem for the rest of us that are hanging around. These companies are going to go in business, and then they're all going to fold in a year or two. That's what's going to happen, because they're going to want to get out of the heat, okay, and they're not going to want to deal with any of the liabilities, and they're going to be out of business, and they'll be out of the threshold window, and they don't have to worry about it. But that's not really the right thing. So responsibility, alignment, collaboration, mutual respect, honesty is the way of development. And it always has been for years. Everyone that tries to take that shortcut is just going to hurt themselves, but the people around them. And I think we as engineers and as developers have an ethical responsibility to our world to develop things that are going to make our world better and not a worse place to be, right? I'm sure you'd agree with me on that. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost at the bottom of our show here tonight. I hope you have enjoyed our first show of June 2017. We will be airing again next week, which will be June 8th. Second week of June at 9 p.m. here on the Starcom Radio Network. Thursday nights, 9 p.m. to actually 9:57 p.m. My name's John. I'm your host of the JMOR Tech Talk Show. If you have technology challenges, be sure to check us out at jmor.com, or you can always chat with us 24 hours a day. I've got to go. You have yourself a wonderful weekend. From all of us at the JMOR Connection Incorporated, we'd like to thank you for listening tonight and invite you to join us again next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to tell your friends, colleagues, and associates about the JMOR Tech Talk Show. We're here every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we're taking your calls live right on our show. If you missed any of our shows, you can visit JMOR.com, and under social area, you can actually listen to previously recorded episodes. We'll see you next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.